Hey Carl, Spencer here. Just calling to say that I really appreciated and enjoyed your daily contributions to RPG a Day month. I know how difficult it is to get those daily episodes out as I have involved myself in this in the last couple of years, but I was unable to commit this year. So yeah, I've really appreciated hearing some more, new voices getting involved and yes, well done for getting those episodes out every day, and congratulations on just making it through. In fact, this year I've struggled to kind of stay up with listening to the episodes, let alone the idea of putting one out each day. So yeah, really appreciate that, Carl, and yeah, take care, man. Bye.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to my interpretation of RPG A Day 2021, wherein I talk or give a few thoughts about a prompt word on this calendar that we have to use, developed by the people who, for the 8th year, have done this project. Originally, I intended it to be like one take, but things are malleable. I've added recaps, I've added callbacks, so here we go.
Hi, Carl. This is BJ. I just wanted to say I appreciated your public service announcement on the difference between a theory and a hypothesis when it comes to the world of scientific knowledge. So I just wanted to say, bless you, sir. You are a scholar and a gentleman. Thank you.
Hey, Carl Rodriguez, thank you for learning us the difference between theory and hypothesis, proving once again that the meanings of words do matter. That actually, I think it was a great explanation, the difference between the two. And you're right. I don't know how it is in other languages, but in the English language, we definitely are very fast and loose with the words we use and what they really mean, which has to really suck for people where English. It's bad enough for people whose English is their first language, much less people who have English as their second language. So, thank you again. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey guys, thank you for the call-ins and the messages. That was Spencer Free Thrall from Keep Off the Borderlands with the intro, and then BJ and Jason referring to the content that I put out in this wonderful RPG a day exercise. So this is my first run at podcasting, my first year at doing it. I actually started, I think, late May. So I think everyone who's been listening, I have a few dedicated followers, which is pretty cool, and I'm getting close. I'm creeping up on 1,000 listens in total from all the content, which is great. So I hope to continue and to give you my recaps, and you can see where I did things wrong or did things well, and comment in my unboxings or overviews of. I haven't done full reviews, but overviews of product. Maybe I'll do a review here and there of things that I really like or I'm dedicated to. And apparently Barney is going to figure out how we get paid for that free advertising. Yes. And that's Barney of Local Ludus is going to pay us for that free advertising. And then we will continue from there. Hopefully I can give you in my recaps some good gaming content and explanation and theory. And I always love the discussion. So thank you very much. Can't thank you enough. All right, last night I ran Deadlands for some of the dudes from the Audio Dungeon Discord and a friend of mine who plays in my regular game. So among the players that play are Arlen Walker of Live from Pelham's Wasteland and Jason Connerly from Nerds RPG Variety Cast. Joe Richter from Hindsightless Plays but was unable to make it last night, and we were joined by one of my friends, who plays in my Warhammer Fantasy game and in my Starfinder game. He doesn't have a podcast or any media, although he should, because he's a good music mixer person. So I guess that's called the DJ. And he does some interesting sound stuff and does recordings for other things. But he doesn't have a social media presence, so as tradition dictates, we will not list him. So this is a continuation of a game. I'm going to call it the series Burning Kansas. And the heroes had traveled on behalf of the Empire Rail to investigate the disappearance of one of their factors and a person that they sent to investigate. And it's in Flat Edge, Kansas. So the last time they were there, they arrived at the town to a welcome reception. Everyone was kind of surly and not helpful. They went to the inn, or not the inn, the saloon, is what it's called, the inn, or the tavern, and that would be like in D&D. But they went to the saloon. They met a person who wanted to play do some gambling with them. He said, "Yeah, do a couple rounds with me. Show me you're my friend, and then I'll tell you where to go." But he set him up. He set him up for, he sent him out into the alley to talk to someone who might know something. But it was an ambush and a setup. But the heroes did pretty well. I guess they're called cowpokes. They did pretty well for themselves. They actually killed somebody, and which probably wasn't helpful with their relations with the town. But they captured somebody. One of the people, this guy named Slim, was also called Angel Eyes as an alias, and he was the bounty for one of the players. And at the end of the last session, they had taken him to the abandoned Empire Rail office, and were interrogating them. And they discovered that they were told to go check out that bad things happened. People didn't like Empire Rail for some reason, and go check out that house at the end of the block to find out information. That's where we left off last time, in summary. And then this time we picked it up. They took these men. They didn't want to leave them in the Empire Rail place, so they took them to the abandoned sheriff's office. They kind of busted the door down. The sheriff hadn't been around for a while, or marshal, whoever was in charge, and they put these guys in the jail and locked it up. The keys happened to be there. They were lucky. I think actually for like luck rolls, you know how players ask, well, is this around? Is that around? I think for luck rolls, the stat or attribute that seems to work for me more thematically the best is spirit. So I'll give them a spirit roll. I gave like the characters a spirit roll to see if the thing they were looking for might be there, right? So that the spirit, their willpower, charisma, karma is looking out for them. I don't know if that probably is not, I don't think there's a rule for that, so like a equivalent of a luck roll. I guess you could spend a Benny to change the narrative, but that seems kind of a harsh way to take away one of the important meta currencies in the game. So anyway, so they locked these guys up and then went to the end of the block to look at this unfinished house. It reeked of death. There were flies everywhere. They saw there's stains on the floorboards. They uncovered a charnel pit, a lot of dead bodies in various states of decay. They saw something shiny, and the marshal went down into the pit. They all made, so you had to make like a double vigor and spirit roll for fear, for vigor for endurance so you wouldn't lose your lunch, and spirit so you wouldn't be shocked by the sight of all this. And they all made it, which was kind of cool. So the Bill Marshall, that's Arlen Walker's character, goes down to the pit, finds the shiny, and it's a marshal's badge. So they find the remains of a guy who was there before. And with that realization, like, man, this slim dude lied to us. He was giving us a load of crap. So as soon as they kind of do that, then someone shows up and calls out the marshal to do a duel. And this guy is a man named Matthew Cooper. He's like Man in Black style, a gunslinger type. And he challenges Bill Marshall, seeing that he's the leader of the group, to a duel. The marshal accepts, so they stand across from each other, and we do the duel mechanic, which I think is kind of neat. It's like a 3-round countdown where the players who are dueling, they have some hidden cards. And then on the third round, that becomes their action card. So what order they go in initiative, which I think is kind of neat. And they can build up, like smack talk each other, intimidate, aim. Actually, Matthew Cooper the adversary, he tried to cast spells because he was built as, or I built him as a hex slinger. So he cast some spells. He told the marshal that he had a bullet with his name on it, and then he tried to do another spell, but that fizzled. And the marshal was good at intimidating him, he even intimidated him so much he shook him up. So I had to spend a Benny. So they're getting rid of my bennies. The other two players who were there are just kind of watching and waiting. My friend's character climbs up to the top of the roof. This is Cad. He's a bounty hunter. He climbs to the top of the roof to give some overwatch to the players, and then Bones acts in a way as Bill Marshall's second, waiting for the outcome of the duel. The duel happens. Bill hits him good in the arm, doesn't kill him, and I have to soak that damage, suspending another of my bennies. But then because of that, the man Matthew Cooper shoots him back, and I believe he also hit, but the damage was, I think he only shook him up, like winged him, and the damage was soaked. And then after that, people were like, okay, what do we do now? So at the end of the first shot of a duel, it's all, no holds barred. So everyone started opening up and looking around. Actually, they didn't really interfere. They didn't shoot at Matthew Cooper. Bones, actually, Jason's character, took a shot and knocked Matthew Cooper's pistol out of his hand. That was pretty awesome. And then Cad took a shot and shot off the man's hat to try to intimidate him or make him vulnerable. And they discovered there that Matthew Cooper was not alive. He was a Harrowed. So he was a Harrowed Hexsinger. So he had already been killed and brought back for some nefarious purpose. Bill Marshall goes up and confronts him, smacks him down, gets him on the ground, essentially, and then intimidates him into revealing some key information. So this last semblance of Matthew Cooper gives him some key information, kind of suggests that he is not doing this through his own free will, but that shock, Bill Marshall's authoritative tone shocks the real Matthew Cooper to the front, and he tells him, find my book. I can't help doing this. Run. And Bill Marshall takes a hint. So Arlen runs towards the sheriff's office, where actually Bones had already moved to, sneaking past or cartwheeling. He rolls a really fast, awesome athletics roll, cartwheeling past some of the locals to get into the jail and make sure they don't try to free the bounty. Cad is kind of backing Bones up, and then Bill Marshall seeing. I kind of was giving hints along the way too that this Matthew Cooper was heating up. There was like a fire element there, so the player took the hint. So Arlen got the hint, and he grabbed Cad, and they dove into the sheriff's office as Matthew Cooper's body exploded and revealed some sort of demonic creature that they later discovered was called a Bloodwalker. So this Bloodwalker causes fear in the area. The players had already encountered some of these, or the remnants of these other creatures that were milling about in the high plains there, in the plains there around Kansas. So these creatures are attracted by fear, and they assault the town just as this Bloodwalker appears, as almost if it was a plan by the Bloodwalker or a contingency. I don't know. So some of these sand sharks bust out. So if you can imagine, not really a boulet, but more of a bahir without shooting the lightning. But these sand sharks kind of shoot out from under the ground. They take care of a couple in the sheriff's office. They seem tough, but not too tough. They grab Slim and head out to get out of town. They know it's so not just is these things erupting from the ground, this fear level has increased here in Flat Edge, Kansas, but there's thunder and lightning when this Bloodwalker appeared. Dark red clouds, a rainstorm begins with hail and lightning shooting here and there. The characters get out into the town, and they realize they got to find this book. At least they get some hint from Slim that Matthew Cooper works at the Knucklemeyer Ranch, so they want to get out of town, find where Matthew Cooper lived, and get this clue book potentially, and get out and lead. And this town is very deadly. There's sand sharks everywhere. As they're escaping, a sand shark gobbles up Slim, Angel Eyes, their bounty. Actually takes down Cad, bites him pretty bad a couple times as he's trying to flee. So, and then this Bloodwalker is watching. It's playing with them. It throws down a blast of fear, and that's actually what caused Slim to run and panic and into the jaws of one of these sand sharks. So Bill Marshall remains steadfast, Bones remains steadfast, or at least they can operate, and they shake things off and they try to get away. Bill does heroically as a Bloodwalker flies down to confront them from its perch atop the Empire, ironically on top of the Empire Rail building. The Bloodwalker comes down to confront them. Bill Marshall rears his horse up in a feat of horsemanship daring, grabs Cad and takes off. Poor Bones is stuck. He tries to escape. The Bloodwalker throws a ball of fiery blood at him, knocks his horse down from under him, and knocks the old Bones to the ground. He's a little shaken. Bill Marshall comes back, saves Bones. They get hurt. Cad is out. Bones is nearly out. Bill Marshall remains strong and makes sure his companions and he get away. The Bloodwalker loses interest, or maybe it's purposely tied to the body that it just exploded from and has a range from which it can act. But the Bloodwalker does not pursue them into the stormy, rainy, hail-laden, lightning-laden night. And we stop there as they head off in the direction of the Knucklemeyer Ranch, this exodus from Flat-Edge, Kansas, as other citizens from the beleaguered, besieged town flee. The town is burning even though it's raining. Burning Kansas will continue in 2 weeks. I would like to add another short addendum for the Burning Kansas Deadlands game. And there was a couple of times, maybe because of the virtual, that's what Jason blamed it on, where there was some cross-communication and I messed up a little bit on the procedural. It was confusing. I didn't try that on purpose to make it seem confusing, although the whole situation was very confusing and probably surprising. I think they felt they're going to find a giant, sand shark or something, but they didn't. It was something more insidious and nefarious. There's been killings. Why are there been killings? What's going on? What is that Bloodwalker? Where did it come from? So, but I'm going to have to really slow down, I think, in the future. And if I say, hey, I want this role, make sure they do the role first, define what the parameters of the role are, and then move on to the next role. And I think I got ahead of myself in the procedure, so that caused some confusion in the gameplay. But I think it was a very fun, harrowing session overall. My friend said he likes it when you get knocked down but don't die. And actually what was kind of cool too, there's a mechanic. So he actually got taken down below, to 4 wounds. And, you have to roll like a vigor roll when you're incapacitated. And he got a critical success, so he survived. But he definitely got taken down, and he's beat up pretty badly, so he needs some healing. He's still incapacitated, but he critically made his vigor roll, so he's all broken. Basically, he got bitten by the sand shark. The sand shark worried him and then tossed him to the side, breaking up his body, all falling broken and looking like a discarded marionette. But he's alive, and that's what's important. So that's Bleeding Kansas Part 2, in a way, an addendum.
As far as playing your Harn thing in Calidor, I got to tell you, Carl, you got too many games you want to play. Now I'm being negative, right? Maybe that's bad to say you have too many games, but what you need to do, listen to me telling you what to do like I'm your boss, but what might be useful is put a list up and just keep it updated. Tag it in Discord and put a list of all the games you want to run in your future games folder on your Discord server, and we'll watch that list as it grows and grows and grows. I wouldn't be opposed to playing in that world you described if we used Riddle Steel instead of the Harnmaster rules, to be honest. But yeah, we've got so many. I would have to drop out of it. It would have to replace a different game that I'm in now because my palate's almost over full as it is. But take care, my friend.
Well, Jason, you've helped me to create a monster. So, inspired by your podcast, I started putting together a list of games that I would like to run. And as of now, today, there are 18 of them. And I will list them to everyone just for fun, because not everyone who listens, I think, is on my Discord. The Discord that my friend Jeff created for me. So let's see. The first game, these are not necessarily in any order, but just in the order I thought about them. The first game is a Harn game set in Kaldor, which is Eastern Harn, using the Riddle of Steel or some other TROS hack. Another game would also be set in the Harn world, but in Invinia, which is Harn world Scandinavia. And this would be a Viking-themed game set in the country of Rugna. I'm interested in a Savage Worlds game set in the After, which is a post-apocalyptic Earth world after an alien invasion. I would love to do a Call of Cthulhu epic, either Children of Fear or Masks of Nyarlathotep, or a Pulp Cthulhu epic, which would be Two-Headed Serpent, Cold Fire Within, Octoon Cthulhu. We had talked about that before. I'd love to do a dedicated Delta Green campaign that would be episodic. A Dark Ages Call of Cthulhu campaign, also episodic, but probably set in the Middle East or in Eastern Europe. I have a good starter adventure for that. Done by the magazine Bayet Al-Asif, which is a Call of Cthulhu themed zine. I would love to do Rime of the Frost Maiden. I got the silver edition in a raffle, and I'd love to run it. It might be better to run live, but hey, one could run it virtual as well. Just all the cool props and things that they have in the silver edition box set are pretty awesome. I would love to do a DCC campaign, either set in Falmouth or using the Echoes of Falmouth zines, or as some sort of mega dungeon, maybe both. Right? I have a few mega dungeons that are around that I could use, and DCC I think would be great for that. I'd love to do a Hyperborean campaign, and this could also be a mega dungeon exploration type, and I would use the Caverns of Thracia product as an inspiration, and or maybe Fane of the Coiled Goddess would be another place to start a Hyperborea campaign. I would love to do a Traveler campaign, maybe Deep Night Revelation or something else, or Pirates of Drinax. I've tried to propose Pirates of Drinax, but people are like, oh, I don't want to be bad pirates. Okay. We've talked about another Warhammer Fantasy 4th Edition game that would be played virtually, and I do have some interest in that. And maybe I'd do a Lustria colonization, but likely my own thing, for sure. Not a set adventure path. Probably using adventures that might be published. Maybe set it in Ubersreich, but who knows. It's been proposed, and we've talked about a pirate-themed game using 7th Sea, or maybe at least the set in the 7th Sea verse, maybe using Riddle of Steel, if not 7th Sea. I'd love to do an Asian Adventures game using the old AD&D products. I have a lot of stuff from Karatur that I'd like to dust off and get using. Same thing with Al-Qadim. I'd love to do an Al-Qadim campaign, also 2nd edition AD&D. I have a lot of that product. I think I have everything of that product, and it'd be fun to run. I also have like the little adventures here and there, smatterings of Al-Qadim and Asian Adventures in Dungeon Magazine. I have a lot of Dungeon magazines, and I think I have them all in PDF anyway. I have some sort of, thumb drive that I got from WotC or something like that, or Paizo maybe. Anyway, I like the game Coriolis. I think it's fascinating. It's Arabian Nights in space, that sort of Middle Eastern theme, and I'd love to do the Mercy of the Icons campaign. It's kind of heavy-handed and a little tough, but I got some tough players, right? So I would love to do a Tales from the Loop game or Things from the Flood, and I'd set it in the Lake Mead area as opposed to in Europe, in Sweden. And then finally, this came up, and I've talked about it before. I'd love to do a Sharps Rifles inspired campaign, and I could use Savage Worlds, but the system is still undecided. Right, so that's a lot of games. It's like 4 minutes of a list of games, 4.5 minutes. So, well, and you know what? I guess this kind of works in with today's topic. The prompt word for today is RPG a Day 2021, and the prompt word is fraction. I know we all have huge collections, and these 18 games are just a fraction of the types of games I could run, and I'm only running a fraction. I would only probably ever run a fraction of these games. So what does that mean? You know, we just we subcompartmentalize our lives into these bits, and you know, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know, but that 18 games are just a fraction of the things that I have, right? So I only mentioned, for example, one D&D 5e Adventure Path product, and I have a lot of them. You probably listened to Spike Pit, Colin Green's boxing ups, and he's boxed up a lot of his WotC D&D 5e Adventure Path things that he have. But I have like Rime of the Frost Maiden, which I love to run. I have Tomb of Annihilation, not just a physical product, but also the whole VTT thing. I wouldn't mind rerunning that because not finishing it left me with a bad taste in my mouth. I have the first one that they did, the Rise of Tiamat, and the sort of dragon cycle that they did as well. And I've only run Tomb of Annihilation, really, so just a small fraction. I have the Mad Mage ones, the ones in Waterdeep, and then the one that takes place in Undermountain. And what's crazy is, interestingly, is that while they give you a lot of content in Undermountain, it's just a fraction of what's down there, because I have the Undermountain box set from first edition and the AD&D Undermountain 2 product. So there's a lot of content out there, and that's what's crazy, is that in our lifetimes we will only play a fraction of the stuff that we have, especially those of us who have these huge collections. I have been collecting Paizo Adventure Paths since the beginning. I'm a initial subscriber, or what they call a pioneer subscriber. So I've been collecting since Rise of the Rune Lords up until the latest one, that's like a magic school in the Mwangi Expanse, and I've only run a fraction of those. I mean, a minuscule fraction. I've never finished an adventure path, and I usually only run the first 3, like I've talked about. So only half, right? Up to only half of the 6 books. So they're starting to retool their model. A couple of the last adventure paths have only had like 3 episodes in them, and they've done that with Starfinder as well. The Starfinder I've done a little better. While I've only run a fraction of the adventure path there, hey, at least I finished one. I finished the Dead Suns one. So, yeah, so we've only done a fraction of what we set out to do, and you can look at it as a mountain of overwhelmingness or a challenge. And I think I look at it as a challenge. I think in the next year or so, as things change around in our lives, that we're going to do a substantial fraction of these games that I'm proposing, and I think that would be very cool. So thank you, Jason, for that inspiration. It is pretty neat, and I might have maybe I'll have an invite to the Carl's Gaming Dungeon if I can figure that out in the show notes, and you can join and add and comment on these games that may or may not be run, but it'd be fun to run. Damn well it'd be fun to run. So this is a GM Extraordinaire peacing out for today, August 27th. We got 4 more days after today of RPG a Day 2021, and happy gaming, happy weekend. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.